respected guest of honor, Brother Shah Nizam bin Mazlan, and to everyone who is here with us today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurin Adlina, and I am honored to be your MC for tonight's session. Alhamdulillah, all praises to Allah, the most merciful and the most beneficent, that we have been graced by the chance to gather tonight virtually on Zoom and YouTube. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. Now, to further bless our event, I would like to invite Brother Hashri to lead the dua recitation. The floor is yours.
Test, test. Can you hear me? Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds, that your blessing and your peace be on your servant and your messenger Muhammad and on his family and his companions. Allahumma ya Allah, on this glorious day, in conjunction with the opening of the English public speaking workshop, we uphold our hands to pray gratefully to you on your infinite favor to us till we can live in peace and harmony to perform our task as your servant. O Allah, we ask your blessings to make this occasion in success. Ya Latif, Ya Rahman, please bless us with your tawfiq and hidayah. Please guide us to greatness, peace, glory, and prosperity in this world and the hereafter. Make us a responsible intellectual. Grant us with available knowledge that will be beneficial to mankind in order to gain your mardatillah. Make us your righteous servant that followed your commands and neglect the sinful act. Please forgive us for our wrongdoings. O Allah, help us to remember you, to thank you, and to worship you in the best of manner. Forgive us, have mercy upon us, guide us, and give us health. Ya Zal Jalali wal Ikram. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azaban nar. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
All right, thank you, Brother Hashri, for reciting the dua. Before we begin our session, my dear audience, you must be wondering who is going to be our speaker for tonight. All right, I will give out clues and tell you a little bit about our great and experienced speaker for tonight's session. He is currently doing his bachelor's degree in English language and literature in IIUM. He works with the Malaysian Institute for Debate and Public Speaking as a trainer. He had won a competition and represented our country for the English Speaking Union in 2017. And he was also the winner for the Tun Mustafa Public Speaking Competition Perpena held by UMS in 2021. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite our special guest for tonight, Brother Shah Nizam bin Mazlan. Please welcome.
Hi, hello, assalamualaikum. Hope everybody can hear me. Sorry if any of you might have heard anything before. I noticed late that my mic was unmuted, so I apologize for that. That happens these days, yeah, online learning and stuff, as long as we do our best. All right, hi everybody, good. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, my name is Shah. I've had some opportunities here and there. I currently help out as a public speaking trainer with MIDP. And well, to get started, to get right into it, let me begin by posing a very simple question. When anybody says public speaking, what kind of speaking normally comes to mind? Most people are going to start imagining on a stage, at a podium, talking to a crowd of people. How many people do you need before you can call it speaking publicly? 3 people, too few. 4 people, 5. Okay lah. 10. To tell you the truth, fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter where you are or to how many people it is you're speaking to, even if you are speaking to only 2 people. Let's say you're sitting down with your friends for lunch. You're over at the, well, we're all UIA, mostly UIA students, right? Let's say you're sitting at the cafe and you're telling a story. Oh, something interesting happened. Oh, that lecturer had scandal or drama. Oh, somebody posted something. Oh, our course mate from over there did something. And you're the one telling the story. The minute you are the one telling the story, what are you doing? Without you realizing, all of the skills that we use in public speaking, you're already using. You want your audience, here your 2 friends are sitting at the same table with you for lunch. You want these people to look at you. You want these people to pay attention to you. Right now, it's not a dialogue. It's not you're talking and they're replying. It's you're telling a story. You're conveying. And all the skills without realizing it, all of us have these already. Subconsciously, everybody does it and everybody knows it well. It's just a matter of putting a name to it and then being aware of it. Oh, so that's what that thing is called. Oh, that's what we're doing. You identify it so that you can get better at it and then you can master it. So what do you do when you tell that story to your 2 friends? You make eye contact, you're looking at them, you might move your body a little bit, you might raise your volume, you widen or you vary your pitch. Oh, kau tahu sis yang tu buat begini. Nobody tells their story. Yeah, gitu. Nobody's going to listen to that. So public speaking, it can be as few as 2 people. It's just you sitting at a table over lunch, you talking to both your parents. You widen or you vary your pitch. Oh, so that public speaking. Now, you apply that anywhere else. You're presenting for class, you're telling a story to anybody, you're trying to convince your parents to give you a little bit more allowance this month, that sort of thing. So you really use it anywhere. And one thing that makes public speakers, our skills, different from debaters, UIA, the debate club often gets most of the glory. Debaters, yeah, the more glamorous side, that one. One thing that's different about public speaking from debating is that sort of thing. Debating, do you really use it anywhere? A lot of focus is on content. We're talking about logic. We're talking about the best crafted arguments. That's debate. Public speaking, not so much. Public speaking is more about the art of, if you can master it, you can make even the most mundane, dull, boring subject appear as the most interesting and most needed thing everybody's never known of before. You can be talking about something as dull as just a pencil, but if you can sell it right, if you can talk right and manipulate it well enough, a good enough mastery of the language and your ability to speak, you can make pencils look like there's something that people didn't know about, need, and you make it appear in a different light. That is public speaking. You can make good things appear bad if you're good at it, and you can make bad things appear good. It doesn't matter for us public speakers. Of course, we value content just as much as the debaters, but we value manner, your delivery of it just as much. It doesn't matter how well crafted your argument is. It could be the most thought out, most logical thought process in the world. But if you deliver it in the most boring, mundane, monotonous style, then nobody is really going to pay attention to you. Conversely, if you talk about something lame, but you're able to make it look good, everyone's going to think that lame thing is the best thing there is out there. Yeah. Now, okay. Very few simple things. So it goes without saying there. So manner is very important. How you deliver is very important. And some of the things that, if I'm able to, let me share my screen here. Let's see. Give me one moment. One thing I'd like to share with all, I'll try to speed along. We're a bit behind time, and I understand we'd like to have some extra time for Q&A. All right, okay. Now I think you should be able to see my screen. Yes. Can I get a nod from the? Do you see my slide? Okay. All right. So In all of public speaking, you only really look at these two things. You have content, the blue ones, and the green ones, manner. Content, okay, most people got it by now. We're all university students, how to write your content. We'll get to that in a little bit. Now, manner is the part that is interesting. We have things, we cover things like how you pronounce words, how high and low your pitch is, how fast you talk, and whether or not you move your body, how animated your face is. To share with you, for us IIUM students, I prefer to call this makhraj. This is your pronunciation, very simply. Have you ever listened to a speaker and in your head, you think, hey, this fella, he sounds so fake lah. His accent so overcompensating. Why he need to sound so like that? I'm sure all of us have had those thoughts before. How come? Why can you get those thoughts? You don't need a linguistics training to be able to tell, but you can tell. Why? Because your brain can tell when there's something's up. All languages have their own particular sound. For you linguistic students, we call it phonology. You have Malay phonology, English phonology, and just like we study how to read the Quran, every letter of every language has its own particular sound and particular way to say it. I like to bring up this example. People have asked me before, hey, Shah, why talk English need to sound like white men? You don't have to sound like the English people. Yes, then they bring up examples. I've had a friend who's done this before. You look at Mahdi, he speaks perfect English, grammar, nothing wrong. And the sound is still a Malaysian sound. Why can't we do that? We are introducing a little bit of our own identity there. Can, no problem. The only thing is, as long as you make sure your makhraj, your pronunciation of the letters are correct, because just as in the Quran, English is also a language of God, yes? Just as with the Quran, if you mispronounce the words, you can get to some different and even worse, very dangerous places. Okay, few examples. This one easy. This sound can be quite a challenge for a lot of Malaysians to do. How do you say this? This one we say deaf, yes, with a snake tongue, deaf. But a lot of our friends might have problems with this. They put F instead, deaf. Or when you have other examples where this too, PH, this is why you get problems with, sometimes this becomes D. How? That's why you get Malaysians who say, my father, my mother, my brother.
Mother.
Why like that? It's not that. It's deaf. Father, mother, brother. Yes?
Brother.
And
Mother. Brother.
short ones. Okay, this one is my favorite here. The E sound. This one, the sound for this is a long, thin yeah. Yes? Sheet. It's a sheet of paper. Why is that important? It's important because if you are lazy, let's say you are lazy and you decide not to put in the effort, you make it very short and very abrupt. Instead of sheet, you end up saying shit. This problem can occur in many schools. My teacher used to say, everybody, where is the shit I gave you yesterday? I gave you so many shit yesterday. Yeah, cheer, you gave a lot of shit. Like, what did you say? Yeah, that's what you say. Shit, problem. That one becomes funny, but if you were to stand on stage, this one is especially fun. If sheet becomes shit, if reach becomes rich, beach becomes very dangerous. Yeah, this one is a true story. One of my standard 6 students once, I taught for a little while as a teacher. This one was in Terengganu. The girl, this one is example, yeah? Pardon my vulgarity a little bit. This is so we know. The girl was standing on stage. She wanted to give a speech about the environment. She wanted to talk about the environment. You know what was her opening line? She opened with, Assalamu alaikum, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very dramatic pause. Our bitches are dirty. We pity our bitch. Our bitch now. What did you think happened? The crowd. Did you hear it? They started laughing. The moment they start laughing, gone. Now they're not really paying attention anymore. Even though the speech was something serious, it was supposed to be a heartfelt, emotional speech about the environment, about how our beaches were dirty and we need to take care of them. Nobody was paying attention to that. Everybody was snickering, giggling, laughing at the joke. Oh, she's talking about. Those are some dangerous errors that can lead away from your presentation. Yeah? And then, okay, this one is pronunciation. Another one is to do with how you control your voice, your pitch. Why is pitch important? High and low. Take a look at this. Try reading this quietly to yourself. As it is written, Rachel Ray finds inspiration in cooking her family and her dog. That doesn't sound right, does it? There's punctuation missing here. What's missing? The commas. Commas are missing. She finds inspiration in cooking, her family, and her dog. So what happens here? Your voice, here, your voice, the lack of pitch is also a pitch here. That is the verbal equivalent of the comma. If in written language we use commas, when you do it verbally, what do? Some of the things you pause, finds inspiration in cooking, her family, and her dog. When we list things out verbally, the pause is important. What else do we do? What else can you notice? If you notice, whenever we're not done yet, your pitch will go up. We find inspiration in cooking, in her family, and then you go down, and her dog. Finish. You try saying another sentence by yourself. Every day I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The breakfast and lunch will always end high. Yes, you don't say every day I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you say that, then meaning the tone. Once the tone goes down, people expect you to finish. That's also another difficult challenge to do. Have you ever tried presenting in front of class and you had this problem? And so that is why, in conclusion, this is why this issue is important. That's all. Thank you. I finished. People find it difficult to finish. How to end? Yeah, that's when you want to end. You ever notice how news readers do it when they get to the end of their sentence? You have to pull a 1-2 combo. You combo your speed, you slow down. Number 2, you break down the sentence into many, many small phrases, and then your pitch goes down also. So let's say if this was the final sentence in the news line, you say, Rachel Ray finds inspiration in cooking, her family, and her dog. You slow down, your pitch goes down, and you break up the sentences more. Yeah. Let me see here. Okay, I think, do we still have time? Are we moving to Q&A? To our exalted host? Or shall I continue?
Oh, you can continue.
Continue? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me take a look. Okay. And another fun one, let me show you. Okay. I think some of you might have seen this already. You might be aware of this. We know this. All right, okay. This one, very simple line. I think you might be familiar with this, but it's a good concept to get a refresher on. I bought her a drink. Now, depending on which word you stress on in this sentence, you will give off a very different meaning. I bought her a drink. I bought her a drink. And so on. If you notice, all of these sentences, if you say it differently, answers different questions. Just from one sentence alone, but you manipulate your voice. Siapa yang beli? Who buy? I bought her the drink. Then your girlfriend asks, how did you get the drink? I bought her a drink. Oh. Then your friend asks, how many drinks did you buy? I bought her a drink. So by choosing to stress on different words in your one sentence, you can potentially give off a lot of different meanings. So when you want to present, when you start talking to people, when you have a big presentation that you're preparing for, think about which words you want to stress on. because they can give off different meanings. Okay, then, pardon me, if you can give me that. Okay, it's been here. The different stresses equals different meanings. This one, in brief, okay, let's say this one is for you linguistic students later on, Benno, perhaps. Yeah, we have dictionary and we have implied meanings. Your voice, this one, in very simple terms, can be used to express sarcasm. This or sarcasm or humor. I'm very sure all of us have that one friend who's sarcastic, yes, and another friend who just doesn't get sarcasm. Let's say you meet a person and the person asks you, your cat lover friend, hey, do you like cats? If you really like cats versus somebody who actually hates cats, but you answer using the same line, how would they sound in your head? Hey, you like cats? Yeah, sure, I love cats. Hey, you like cats? Yeah, sure, I love cats. Can't get enough. Why can our brains pick up on that? This one brings me to rule number 1 of public speaking, or when you want to talk. This is just as a guide, yeah, to get you started. Remember this. How you say the thing should fit the meaning of the thing. Example, if you say, I love something, say it in a way that you think is a loving. Say it in a loving way. I love cats. Or if if it's a happy sentence, if there's a word happy there, or if there's a word great, yeah, you say it, your voice will reflect. This is a great thing. If it's big, this is a big thing. If it's small, this is a small thing. Your voice will reflect it. The moment your voice goes astray from that, the moment you do the opposite, you do a fun experiment. If you do the opposite, this is a big thing. Or I love that. If you were the listener, if I was telling you that, definitely you'd already start to, hey, something's up. Is he being sarcastic? I think he's joking. You would know he does not mean what he says because he does not say it the way he means. So that's rule number 1. As an easy guide, if you feel you have a problem with expressing yourself, how you say the thing should fit the meaning of the thing. This works for a bunch of other stuff too. Let's say if you go to any kenduri, any public event, any event that involves food in Malaysia, and you have a bunch of uncles and aunties. Oh, where's my picture? And you come across somebody like that, big fella, chonky. Where got Malaysian uncles and aunties will never, ever, ever to your face say, hey boy, you fat, huh? They never say that. What do they say? They here in the top bracket. Oh, they say, oi, hey, sehat sekarang, sehat. Oh, you're healthy, eh? Oh, you're very prosperous, eh? Oh, that's, all these things, all these euphemisms, all these nice ways of saying actually not so nice things. That is also where your pitch plays a role. Yeah. So in the case of these two, even though both the sincere person and the sarcastic person, they both say, yeah, sure, I love cats. The moment the sarcastic person does it in a way that's not how it means, you know something's up. That undercover hidden meaning, that implied meaning, if you want the fancy term for it, we call it the pragmatic meaning. As opposed to the dictionary meaning, the semantic meaning. Yeah, sure, I love cats. If you have a friend who just can't grasp sarcasm, sometimes it can be hard to pull off. Yes, sometimes are you being sarcastic? I don't know. Then a bit hard. Okay. Oh, I forgot to bring us to it though. Where was that? Yes, here. So yeah, I forgot to make the point. So when I ask the question, why is it sometimes you're able to tell somebody has a thick accent or not? Ah, this one is makhraj. Pronunciation is one. And we have many sorts of Englishes in the world. That's a term, yeah. You have the UK English, American English, Australian English, South African English. You even have Malaysian English. Perfectly fine. And each of these have their own distinct sound. You try and figure out for yourself, you see, okay, this one is also a fun example. Since we have a little bit of time here. Okay, take a look at this sentence and try gauging how would you say it. Some of our friends or myself would say, I park my car in Harvard Yard. Yeah. Some of our friends might say, I park my car. The R is prominent. It features. We voice it. I sound funny doing it because I can't do it very well. Now, what is happening there? This is a good little linguistic test for you. If you say, I park my car, the R is silent, the R is gone. That is the UK Qira'at. Qira'at Londoniya. All right. And the ones who voice out the R more, this is just testing on one letter, yeah, by the way. That would be the more American one. I park my car in Harvard Yard. Well, I can't do it, right? But just to show you, for the UK one, the R isn't really gone, is it? It's not completely gone. What happens to the R? Because if we pretended it was completely gone, it would become, I park my car in Harvard Yard. That's not how it sounds, yes? Instead, what happens in the UK one, in the UK Qira'at, or accent, so to speak, what happens is that instead of the R, the main vowel or the A gets elongated, dipanjangkan. You add a harakat to it. It becomes thickened. I parked my car in Harvard Yard. Now, as to the question, how come you feel like somebody can talk thick? It's when you mix the qira'ats up. When a person talks a certain way, your brain subconsciously can detect the pattern. It can predict what sounds are supposed to come out. These patterns of sounds are what we call phonology. The UK phonology, the Malaysian phonology, and so on. So if you mix it up, let me exaggerate it. I park my car in Harvard Yard. It comes out very weird. I'm exaggerating, yes, but people who are not used to it, that's why you can tell. So, moral of the story here, you try to identify for yourself which one are you more used to and which one you are more comfortable with. No right or wrong. The point is, you identify yours and then you stick to it. You have your qira'at, use the qira'at. Don't mix and match. Yeah? But we can be forgiven if we didn't. But who would know these things? Nobody really knows these things. And it's nobody's fault because even though we study and we use the UK standard here, we grow up with movies, cinemas, radio, and YouTube with American English. So you really can't be faulted for that. All right. So this is to do with makhraj and qira'ah for al-Injaliziyah. All right. Okay. I'm sorry. I can't access the schedule from this screen. Shall we can call
Yeah,
a
you can
Q&A.
continue.
Okay, continue. Okay.
Yes, of course.
All right. Give me 1 second here. Okay. So that's to do with enunciation. We've covered pitch. Okay. Now let's see. I'm sorry, what time have we got until? Let me plan in my head here. Otherwise, you can just stop me when I've run my mouth a bit too long. Another thing to consider is speed. Some people talk very slowly. This is just for you to know. The average person talks on a very slow day. This is if you're very sick or if you're very tired. Man, lagi na makan tak? Kelas hari ni tak lara WPM. 80 words per minute. That's on the slow end. or Professor Snape from Harry Potter? Slower, that one. The average person ranges between 100 and 130 words per minute. 100 on the usual side, 130 if you're getting excited, you're talking over lunch again, you're gossiping with your friends. Yeah, 130. Or maybe, na'uzubillah, your speed running through your prayer. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, astaghfirullah. 130. The realm of this one. Nobody talks like this. The 400 words per minute range, the fastest recorded ones. Who are these people? These are rappers and auctioneers. You know, the people who conduct auctions. 400, 400, 400, going on 500, 500, 500. So, for the man in the black hat and back. That one is 500. Our main concern with speed is the slower you talk, the clearer you are, but the more boring you sound. It can be very difficult if you talk at this speed. It's down. You lose your audience's attention. The faster you talk, the more interesting you are, because you can get through your content quicker. And mind you, our generation today, well, our young people today, well, not young people, everybody really, our attention span is the length of one TikTok video. That's pretty much how long it is. It's nobody's fault. It's technology. It's society. It's the way things are now. Yes? We don't have time. It's a fast-paced world. So you talk quicker. However, the risk is for you to stumble. You know, when you talk really fast, when you try talking about something really fast, you think you have all the points on, you're talking about point number 1, number 2, number 3, and then you're elaborating, you're giving examples, and you're explaining a little bit more, then you blink it back. There is a chance for you to stumble and you get tongue-tied. Very dangerous to a public speaker, because it's just like if you were to physically walk and then you slip. Once you slip and fall, it takes time to get back up, yes? Just the same with verbal language. When you slip, when your tongue slips, if you are in front of the class presenting something with a slide and you it takes a while to get back up. The momentum to recover takes a while. In the worst case scenario, you might even black out. Dangerous. So how do we find our middle speed? Everybody's middle speed is different. What's everybody's optimum speed? Okay. Here, what I can roughly recommend you do is you take a book, you base it off of your reading speed. Not reading with your eyes, I mean with your mouth. If you read something, okay, you try this experiment later on. What is the fastest speed you can read while still being able to play with your voice? Play with your voice, I mean go up and down. And in today's news, we are going to be talking about this thing that happened today. Oh, and why is that? Because so and so and so and so. And you read. What is the fastest speed you can do that, comfortably do that? Reason being, if you speak too fast, if you speak really, really fast, you'll find that you won't be able to vary your pitch anymore. At one point, when you go too fast, you can't control your voice. You can no longer go up and down, get louder or softer. You can't do it. So what's the fastest speed while you can still do that? You find that speed through reading, read aloud, and then you work off of that slowly. Then you'll start to be able to see your comfortable speed, rather than to find out, oh, slowest, fastest, middle. Okay. And well, I use this for my classes. It's a good example. People know him. So we talk about non-verbal language. Non-verbal language, very simply put, you remember, every time you present in front of class or anytime you've seen anybody do it, let me press the button here. People will look at your face. 3 things people look at when you talk in front of a crowd. People look at your face. People look at your hands. And people look at your body. Movement, generally, yeah? Where your legs go and what you're doing in general. Now, also another popular example. You look at that face. Now, remember that thing? Remember rule number 1? How you say the thing should fit the meaning of the thing. When you say it in a way that's different from the meaning, people will know something's up and you don't mean what you say. Yes? It works the same with your face. Let's say a teacher comes, your lecturer says, this is physical class, let's say. Your lecturer comes in, hey, class, sorry, today class cancel. And let's say you, being the sly, cunning student, you go, ayo, doctor, that's horrible, said the student smilingly. Definitely, even though your voice is sad, ayo, that's horrible. People will know something's up. Oh, the fella joking. Oh, the fella sarcastic. Why? Because your face did not reflect the meaning of what it is you were saying earlier. So the guide here applies here. How you say the thing should fit the meaning of the thing. Your face should also follow. If you are happy and what you are saying is a happy thing, say it that way. The only times you should be breaking that if you are deliberately doing it for a certain effect. If you're trying to be sarcastic or you're trying to pull off a joke, then you break apart. But I do highly encourage all of you to experiment with these. Experiment with your voice. What if I said it in a way that wasn't it? Have you ever tried saying something happy with a sad voice and a sad face? Or you say something sad with a very happy voice? Oh man. My cat died. I'm horribly sad. But it's such a loss for all of us. Everybody loved that cat, and I'm just sad out of my mind right now. I've been crying for the last 10 days. People will either think you're sarcastic, taking the joke too far, or a little psychotic. You might be out. So if you like acting, theater, you might also be able to play around with those principles. Oh, this one's a good one. Okay, our continuing model. Now, all of human hand movement, when you talk, you might notice, you try to think back to all the times you talk in front of a crowd. Where do your hands go and how do they move? For some of you, it's small movements like this. Oh, there's these things, item number 1, item number 2. Some people don't move at all and they do what I call the vitagen. Like the vitagen ad, they keep it there. Or you do like the nashid singers. You keep it there. Some people don't move at all. And some people move it a little up. Some people move more. That's fine. But majority, I could say 80 to 90% of most human hand movements will be within this blue box. What is the point here? My point is, with your hands, if you want to make a point, if you want to emphasize what you are saying, you combo it with your voice. Yes, you want to emphasize this is important. Then you want to combo with your hand. What do? Therefore, your hands should break that blue box. You should go above and beyond that. You should go outside that box. First Prime Minister, Tunku Abdul Rahman, when he says Merdeka, where does his hand go? It goes up to the sky. It breaks the blue box. Adolf Hitler, when he talks, big dictatorial speeches. All these movements, they're big. When they're big movements, they will always break the blue box. So if you want to make a really strong point, you move outside the box. And the further outside you go, the greater the emphasis. Big sweeping movements. Which is why, you couple this with speed as well. By speed, I mean the abruptness of your movement. That's why Merdeka is always, it's like a punch to the sky. As opposed to if you were talking about something more fluid. Today, with your hands are moving like this, softer, they're more wave-like. These are some of the things that are quite important as opposed to doing this. That is why you can explain, let's say, the ones we see on social media, when they make a point. Why is that? How do we explain that? Abrupt, forceful movements, emphasizing. That's the idea. Okay. So these are the things. These are some of the things that we cover in manner. How you talk, your makhraj, your pronunciation of the word, so it's clear. Your pitch, so you can get your meaning, your stress, and you can separate your points across. Your speed, how fast and how slow you are, and then the rest of all that is not said, but rather expressed through your body, through your eyes, through your mouth, your face, your hands, and your body, the rest of your body. Oh, there was one other small part here I forgot to mention. When you move, when you stand in class and you present, do you move or do you stay still? Some move everywhere, like an actor on a stage. Some people sit still in front of the slide. That's where they start. They Assalamu alaikum there, and then they Sadaqallah also over there. It's fine. That's completely fine. The only thing is, do remember that all movements you can group into those three classes you see on the right. Anything that distracts your audience, why do we call them distracting? Let's say I'm talking. If teacher in school, okay, students, today we are going to. Where do you think the students are going to look? Everybody going to look outside the window. Cikgu dengan apa? What are you looking at? Or you presenting, suddenly you forgot what you want to say. Today we are going. Good morning. We are going to. Looking for what? Looking for wahyu. Looking for wahyu for what to say. Looking to the heavens or looking to the earth. Everybody will follow your eyes. Oh, you think what? Yeah. That distracts not only yourself, it distracts your audience and interrupts your momentum. If your hand, you get nervous, or your feet, you start to shuffle in the pockets, distracting. It distracts your audience. Neutral movements is if the ones you sit still, the Vaidajan or the Nashid pose. Or sometimes, some people, some trainers will say putting your hands in your pocket is a bad thing. While that is true for the most part, in some conditions, you may do it for the style. And if you have a jacket, you might, how do you say? You put your hand on your hip a little bit, or your hands slightly are inside your pocket, and it doesn't do any damage, nor does it bring any good. Then it's fine. It's also neutral. It's okay. The best kind of movement we are looking for are the ones that help out your speech, such as what? Such as you list when you list. Respected friends, my fellow friends. Remember all of these things, you only have 3 points. Point number 1, point number 2, point number 3, these help. You combo it with your voice. Point number 1, the pitch goes up, the volume goes up, and then you plus with your body movement here. 1, and you are subconsciously reinforcing it in the mind of your audience. Okay, number 1, about 3 points. This is how you make your speech more memorable, and people, okay, I understand. Very clear, he present. That's the idea. All right. Okay. On another note, okay, we look back now. We look at the content side, the blue side. I'd just like to give. Oh, sorry, excuse me there. For the content, I'll just start us off with 2 very simple things. This one, excuse me, where is this one very simple. The story is, situation, you sit down, you've been given a topic, an essay to write. You have to write a report, you have to write an essay, or you are sitting somewhere and you've been given a topic to speak on. You have 5 minutes or less to prepare, or you don't have a lot of time to write the essay in. What do? You could be writing an essay too, and it's due tomorrow. Why due tomorrow? Because it was given a month ago, you just forgot. That's today. That's okay, me too. How do we start? Normally, you find yourself in one of these 2 types of people. Situation 1, I got like a million ideas, but I don't know which one to write. Or situation 2, ayo, I don't know what to write. No idea at all. Cakap apa? Tak tahu tu. How to goreng. This is the art of goreng here. Item number 1. These are the items in your toolkit. You ask, the standard, not easy. Five wives, 1 husband. MashaAllah. 5W1H. You ask the standard ones. What, when, who, where, how, why. And then the next two, we'll take a look into this. The three aspects. This one is handy. It's been taught in school. We all know it, but it's a good refresher. We'll get into this in a bit. We have the PES aspect, and you talk about scale. On what scale it affects society. Now, okay, when you do the 5W1H, let's say your topic is the effects of shopping online. Okay, pretty common. I don't know what to write. So overwhelming. What to say? What to do? Relax. Ask the questions. To who? Effect of shopping. Doesn't matter what order you do it in. Just ask the question. Effects of shopping. To who? Who I want to talk about? Oh, students. Where? Oh, okay. I want to talk about in Malaysia. And what kind of effect? Good or bad? Oh, bad effects of shopping online to students in Malaysia. Although the official one that your test gave is the effects of shopping online, but when you decide to specify, oh, this is a guide on how to get started, you specify it more and more and more, and then you find this, oh, okay, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to talk about this angle. Then time, example. Then you decide on aspect. Okay, anything you will ever write for any report from school all the way up to university and way beyond that, and anything you will ever talk about also, all these points can roughly be categorized into three classes. Number one, if you talk anything to do with rules, regulations, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, it's a political point. These are rights. Oh, now the rules are like this. Individual rules or rights during quarantine, so on and so forth. As long as you talk about money and cost, it's going to be an economic point. It doesn't necessarily always have to be about money. Let's say you talk about the number of doctors and nurses needed to staff one hospital efficiently in Malaysia. You need 20 doctors and 100 nurses, let's say. And then there's a manpower shortage, labor shortage. That's an economic point. Supply and demand, and shortages in cost. Everything else, social point. You want to talk about healthcare, you want to talk about education, you want to talk about religion, talk about culture, talk about languages, it's a social point. But do be aware that all these can overlap with each other. If you decide to talk about, let's say, hospital, at first you think, oh, it's a social point. Okay. No. I want to talk about the cost of building hospital. What is that now? It's an economic thing, yes? So you bear this in mind. But what this is for is just when you get a topic to either present or talk about or to write an essay on, as a starter, you think to yourself, what aspect I want to tackle? You want to do political points, rules points, you want to talk about economic points to do with costs and money, or you want to talk about the social aspect, human relationships or cultures, religions and languages, and so on and so forth. Some people will decide on a theme. Okay, my points will all be political. Some people will mix and match. You can have, normally essay standard, you have 3 points, yes? 1 point from each class, 1 point from each category. Then you can consider, it's a overall or general look at the whole issue from different aspects. Then you consider what scale. To who? To individual, one person only? To groups of people? By society, we don't mean all of society. We mean certain groups of people, specific ones, such as what? Let's say we talk about the effects of shopping online from earlier. The effects of shopping online on B40, poor people. That's a group of people. Let's say we want to talk about students, just students. That's a group of people. That's what we mean by societal. You want to break it up, you can break it up according to cultures. Talk about Malays only. Bumi Putra policy. You want to talk about religions? Non-Muslim. Ima. Different groups of people. This is society. You want to talk about the whole country, one step up? That's on the national level. Many nations, international. So whenever you start, not that one. Whenever you start with a topic, You always start with, you ask those 5W1H questions, and then you figure out what aspect you want to talk about, what aspect you want to tackle it from, or you want to mix and combine. And then you start to think about who you want to talk about. You want to talk everybody, you want to talk generally, internationally, you want to talk about a certain group of people here, abroad, or okay. And if we still got time.
Oh yes, the break will be at 9:35, so you can keep going.
9:35 or 55?
Oh, 9:35, yeah.
Okay, 9:35. All right, few minutes left. There's one thing I want to show all of you, very interesting one. The most interesting one. Let me hang on. Okay. There's a lot here, but I'll pick and choose. You should be able to see my screen now. Black and white one. Disclaimer phrases. Disclaimer phrases. Normally you use when, if you have an unpopular opinion, or you have something you feel is either A, sensitive, or B, you feel somebody or a large group of people might start disagreeing with you, and you want to avoid that. How do we do that? Okay. These are some phrases. Pardon me, they're all uncolored and very boring. But these are some phrases you will see. Not everyone, but there are people out there who, some people might possibly, maybe, probably, not all of them. Where do you find this a lot? If you see tazkiras, if you see certain ustads and ustazahs, they might say stuff like, bukan orang kat masjid sini, masjid sebelah, masjid tempat lain, oh kampung sebelah. Or they might say, if it's us, oh, not, your teacher might have said, oh, students are very bad. Not this class, other classes. Disclaimer. We call it disclaimer. It's so that nobody can claim that it was you who said it, and it's not your opinion, it's somebody else's opinion. It's not me, other people. Now, how do we use it effectively though? This is one of the most dangerous things, public speaking. You can, using this, if you manipulate it well, you can make very bad things look good. Example, unpopular opinion. Let's say you are addressing a Malaysian crowd and you decide to stand up and say, I don't like nasi lemak. How do you think the audience will react? Boy, how do we make it acceptable? We do something called, we cushion it a little bit, then we deflect. Some are okay, but I don't like nasi lemak. Enough. Not enough. People still, what do we do? Even though some are okay, good ones are hard to find. So I don't like nasi lemak when you're explaining yourself. Enough. Not enough. In the end, once you have cushioned it, you deflect. Even though some are okay, good ones are hard to find. That's why there are quite a number of people who don't like nasi lemak. You notice in the last one, you, or the word I, the pronoun I, isn't even there anymore. You're not even talking about yourself anymore. You cushion the sentence, the sensitive sentence, and then you deflect it to someone else. There are quite a number of people who don't like nasi lemak. Not me, other people. This one is a tame example. Okay, this next one, I'm able to give because we're all adults and we're all university students, yeah? Okay, so now, to show you, this is an extreme example. Let's say, how would you do this? That's a very interesting line to say. Muslims can eat pork. Astaghfirullah, heresy. What is this blasphemy you're spouting, brother? This is grounds for expulsion. Okay, bear with me. See what we do to it. Muslims can eat pork. In certain situations, Muslims can eat pork. In certain situations, when in dire need, and there is absolutely no alternative, and in a state of emergency, Muslims can eat pork. You see the cushioning? Cushion. You give conditions, you give statements, and then in the end, what do? You deflect. There are people, not me anymore, it's not you. There are people or other schools of thought who believe that in certain situations and when in dire need, there is absolutely no alternative, and in a state of emergency, Muslims can export. In the end, all you want to say is actually just that last line, the black bolded one. But you cushioned it and you deflected. I'm not teaching you to do it. This one is so that you're able to spot it when it's used. Who uses these? Normally you'll find politicians or other people who would, this is one way. These are disclaimer phrases. But when we use it, when you want to present, when you're presenting something, having disclaimer phrases allows you to generalize certain things to a lot of situations, or you make it more specific. And if you master it well, no matter how hard your topic, you would be able to make, which is why I keep saying, you would be able to make even good things appear. You make good things appear bad and bad things appear good. All right. And I think that just about comes to our break time, I think.
Yes, it's already 9:34. All right, thank you, Brother Shah Nizam. Those are really great tips. I definitely agree with your points. So now, everyone, we will take a 5 minutes break. So if any of you would like to stretch a bit or drink some water, you are more than allowed to do so. But do not leave this session yet because we will continue and meet again at 9:40. All right, so we'll be back in a moment.
Those people who don't know where Malaysia is tend to know where Singapore is. So yeah, that's where we are. If you know where Singapore is on the world map, we're right above it. Now, pardon my language, but it's like that little penis jutting out of Asia. Right. Okay, so a few fun facts about Malaysia. You know, there was a plan once, we were supposed to achieve independence together with Indonesia. Unfortunately, World War II happened, and the Indonesians got the jump on us, so we started late. Well, although there are today, I can see the legacy of the Commonwealth is still pretty much alive here, and in the British influenced countries among us. The first Prime Minister, first Malaysian Prime Minister, came here to London to negotiate for independence. It's something that some Indonesians today, our neighbors, look down on, because they achieved their independence from the Dutch with violent revolution. The Malaysians in Malaysia, our direct neighbors, achieved independence from the British through talking and negotiation. So they view it's all right, but it's an independence without bloodshed, without all the fuss and violence. But anyway, moving on. It was the Portuguese age of exploration that opened up Malaysia first to European contact. It was the first European contact, and that brought about 400 years of Western domination. We got the Portuguese, then the Dutch, then the British, then the Japanese, then back to the British. So we've got a lot of culture. The people, the inhabitants of Malaysia, the lands that make up Malaysia, were predominantly Hindu. Back in the day, thousands of years before the Muslim merchants came and spread Islam. All right, as far as education goes, we've got all kinds. You can go to the national school, which is primarily Malay language based. You've got the Tamil schools. You've got the Mandarin based schools. You've got religious schools and vocational schools. Different kinds of education, vocational ones, of which is today, until now, still a very controversial issue. More on that later on. And then besides that, what else we got? Like, similar to Sinhalese English, we also got our own brand of Malaysian English. I think most Asian countries are that way. They have their own form of Englishes. Although we do tend to mix up our languages a lot. We've got Malays, Chinese, Indians. Those are the three main communities. We tend to mix and match everything. A sample sentence would be, hey, bro, supper dah. Let's go makan. Hey, bro, let's go supper dah. Supper is Tamil for eat. Let's go makan. Makan is also eat in Malay. And then, or when something is so tiresome, burdensome, it's so fun, this thing. It's so burdensome to do that, it's Mandarin. We tend to mix and match those kind of things together. And another one, we are one of the least productive countries on the planet also.
We take excuses for everything. The Chinese got a holiday, we celebrate it, call it a holiday. The Indians got a holiday, okay, it's a holiday too. Doesn't matter. The Muslims, Eid, okay, take it. In fact, we had to mandate each school has to have a compulsory 190 days of school. Because otherwise, we take so many holidays. Tomorrow is the school sports day, next day is off. We won football, next day is off. There's too many off days. But it's something we, and there aren't that many countries, I can tell you this, that where you can go out and eat dinner at 3 a.m. in the morning. That happens. Our restaurants are open anytime, all time, everywhere. It's great. It's also what leads us to be one of the most obese countries in Asia. Before I finish, my clothing here, this is national dress, it's called the baju Melayu, or literally Malay dress, Malay shirt. This is called the Kolo. This one is only worn by those marrying at weddings and by kings at their coronation. And it's normally made from the same fabrics. This is just for convenience. This is the shirt, and this is called the something you wear it around your waist. Most Malays you would see would wear it differently. This is the slightly more elaborate form of dress. This traditional one is called chapa. Not all Malaysians know what this is, I can tell you this. I went to school the other day, this girl was walking next to me. Hey Shah, what are you wearing heels for? Hey, this is traditional, it's called chapa, okay? It's got heels, so the first few. Then the British, then the Japanese, then back to the British. So we've got a lot of culture. The people, the inhabitants of Malaysia, the lands that make up Malaysia, were predominantly Hindu back in the day, thousands of years before the Muslim merchants came and spread Islam. All right, as far as education.
All right, so we are back to continue our session for tonight. Inshallah, at 10 o'clock, we will begin our Q&A session. So if any of you have any questions, please do ask in the comment section, because this is your golden opportunity, which you should take to know more about public speaking, because our speaker over here is a really, really great speaker, and he is also a trainer himself. So do ask questions, all right? And now I would like to invite Brother Shah Nizam to proceed with his sharing. Please welcome.
Thank you, Noreen. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Okay. So, just a quick refresher. Remember that all of public speaking boils down to two things: what you say and how you say it. What you say is important, but just as important is how you deliver. And how you deliver consists of things like your pronunciation, your pitch, your speed, and your non-verbal communication. And we have gone through those things. The importance of being able to speak loudly, clearly, and automatically. Remember, rule number one: how you say the thing fits the meaning. Yes, I try. Heard a little something. And under content, when you're sitting down, okay, you have a topic to talk about, or you have a topic to discuss. This one is in the planning stage, yeah? So for content, remember you ask those very simple school level tips, but they are useful nevertheless. You ask questions, what, when, who, where, why, to flesh out the question a little bit more, and then you apply which aspect. You ask yourself, what aspect do I want to talk about this from? Which aspect do I want to tackle it from? Am I talking about just rules and regulations and laws, or rights, political points? Do you want to talk about things that concern cost, money, supply, demand, economic points? Or would you like to touch human relationships, feelings, psychological effects, mental illnesses, that sort of thing, social points? And then you consider on what level would you like to examine the issue. You want to examine it on the individual level, how it affects individuals, how it affects different groups of people, It may affect rich people differently from poorer people. It may affect students differently from teachers and so on. You might want to consider taking it up to national level, all Malaysans generally. And then you might want to also consider many nations at once, international. Okay. So you combo these two, aspects and scale. Which aspect and what scale? What we went over just now was one of my personal favorites, the disclaimer phrases. The disclaimer phrases allow you to get away with saying a lot of things. If you feel a little nervous about saying something and passing it off as fact, you don't have to claim it as fact. You use the disclaimer phrases. Or possibly this might be so. Some people, not all, in such cases, in certain times. Some other people might have the opinion that A is B. You cushion and you deflect. Please use it wisely. Okay? It's important that you are able to use it well and also spot it when other people are using it. So you're on to what it is they're doing. Now, what I'd like to show you next, I have it here with me. Give me one minute. Useful. Okay. I got it. Okay, some speech techniques. I'd like you to compare the next two we're going to look at. We've already covered disclaimer phrases. Now, when you talk about, when in any speech, in any presentation, in any essay, there's going to be people. Either you're talking about, if you're talking about, there's a student, you're talking about yourself, you're talking about other people, there will always be humans involved. Yeah. And, or at least entities. Depending on how you wish to portray them, you can.
Brother Shah Nizam, I'm sorry,
Oh,
but we can't see the screen. Can you try to share again?
one sec. Black screen.
Oh my, it's still a black screen.
Oh dear. Yeah, this happens sometimes. It happens with my classes too.
I see.
The only cure here is for me to leave the Zoom call and come back, but I'm not sure if we can do that. Yeah, that's okay. I can. Then in that case, give me 1 moment. Can't see. I can't see. Oh well, that's. I'm sorry about that.
It's alright. You can proceed.
Okay. All right. Okay. These are some of the speech techniques you can use it when you talk. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a formal event. You can just use these when you're talking with friends even. One way, when you tell a story, when you tell a speech, whoever's concerned, we always have ways of portraying them, depending on how you wish to depict them as, either good or bad, or anywhere in between. The example I was going to show you, let's say we were talking about the issue of drunk driving, and we're talking about drunk drivers. And then you compare two tones. In the first tone, let's say you wanted to build empathy for them. We want to cast them in a more sympathetic light. How do we do this? Talking about drunk drivers. You would say things like, drunk drivers who busy and stressed out from their everyday work, who don't have time at all, who have no other choice and are very limited in their ability to so and so and so, often find themselves turning to alcohol as an escape. And in those late hours, in the little free time that they are able to spare, find themselves with no one around, no taxis, nobody to be able to drive them back. Hence, them driving while drunk. These people could be anybody. They could be our friends, our relatives, or God forbid, even us someday. Therefore, we should help them and try to identify the problems and the root causes of these issues. Okay, that's stone number one. Okay, compare it with stone number two. How I'm going to say it now. Talk about same drunk drivers. These drunk drivers who, despite their busy schedules, who, despite their many responsibilities, still deliberately choose to frequent bars and cowardly turn to alcoholism. They, in the end, harm not only themselves, they harm their passengers in the car with them and other motorists on the road and other pedestrians too. Lives are at stake. These people should be punished. These two are intros, yeah? They're not points. They're introductions only. You compare the two terms. Which one do you feel is the more sympathetic kind of one? The first term. Which one is the harsher one? You'd say the second. And the point here is, when you want to build sympathy, when you want to establish, we nominate them, either good or bad. We nominate them. If it was good, you'd say things like, it's not their fault. How do we shift the blame? We say they were forced to. They were forced to do it. They didn't do it themselves. So when you nominate someone, when you describe somebody, because they were busy, because they had no other choice, because of these, it left them no choice that they ended up in those situations. You nominate them and say, it's not their fault. And then, other than that, once you reach the end, they could be our brothers. They could be our siblings, our relatives, our family. They could be us. We identify with them. Identify them with us, us with them. In that one, you would use a lot of we, us, together. This is how you build sympathy. This is one technique. So you nominate and identify. Contrast with the harsher tone. How did we nominate them? It's not like they had no choice. They had every choice. They had all these problems and still they deliberately chose to do this bad thing. It is their fault. That's how we nominated them. There's a contra there. And then in the end, what did we do? Did we identify with them? Did we say things like, they could be anybody, they could be us? No, what did we do? We didn't identify with them. It's them. They're not us. We nothing to do with these poor. Those poor are bad. They should be punished. Yeah. So depending on whatever issue it is, and depending on the stance you want to take, how you nominate them and how you identify, these are little techniques you can use. Another very useful one is called, these techniques, they go by a lot of names. Yeah, I'll type them out in the chat here. One good one is called intensification and I would have written this on the slide, but sorry for that's my end there. Intensification and mitigation. This is useful when you want to make something look bigger. Mitigation, you make something look smaller. When you want to intensify a point, let's say you want to talk about a product or how great something is. This is good. Normally, the key phrases would be, not only can this thing do A, it can do B, and it can do C. This is how great this is. You combo and you layer the combo upon combo. Then wow. You can even do it for bad things. Notice in the drunk drivers just now, what do we do? Not only do they harm themselves, they harm the passengers with them, they harm other motorists and the pedestrians on the road. We combo, make it look like it's such a big thing. We intensify it. How do we mitigate? Mitigate is the opposite. We make an effect look small, tiny. Ladies and gentlemen, drunk driving, as serious as a problem it is, only 0.001% of deaths on the road in Malaysia are caused by drunk driving. That is a fraction of the population. We have so many other serious problems to consider that affect more of our people on an even larger scale. We mitigate. it's a tiny small problem. It's not as big of a deal as we make it out to be. That is what you do when you mitigate. And one thing that's important is for you to acknowledge. When you acknowledge, even though drunk driving is a serious problem, not everybody is affected. Even though we acknowledge it is a problem, but so and so and so. Rather than if you were just to say, not everybody is affected. Remember, acknowledgement will make all of your speeches much stronger, not just for the opposite point. Let's say you are a speaker waiting for your turn to present. And then suddenly the speaker before you says the same thing you were going to say. Ayo, what do I do now? Acknowledge. If you don't acknowledge, you come up, I said the same thing as him, repeating, oh no. Acknowledge. Just like the speaker before me, I agree with that speaker. In fact, it's great. And just so and so and so, you acknowledge. You may add to it a little bit. You may add your own little spin to it, your twist to it. Normally, points when we say they are the same, they're not exactly the same. You might have had a different example in mind, but you acknowledge it. Yes, I agree with the brother or sister who spoke just now. And in fact, I would go so far as to say, insert added stuff here, if you haven't. If they are from the opposite side, if you are debating something, you disagree, even though that may be true to a certain degree, there are still acknowledged. Okay, that's very important. And excuse me, sweating a little bit. So these are some of the techniques you can use. You nominate and identify, you intensify, you mitigate, and you have those disclaimer phrases. Oh, I have a few more here. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Okay. And I think that should cover the basics really. Forgive me. I think we can take time to. I'm sorry, sister. Are we? What time are we supposed to?
Oh yeah, so I actually have 5 more minutes. But we can proceed with the Q&A session if you're all right with it. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. I think answering them will take up time.
All right. So there are a few questions in the chat box. I will start with the first one. Someone here asked, it's quite a personal question, but we can proceed with it. How did you start your journey as an English public speaker? And what is your fondest memory of being one after all these years?
I started my journey with joining MUN, actually, Model United Nations. If some of you might have heard of it, it's where they simulate the United Nations. You role play as different countries. That was back in Form 2. I was always taken by a lot of political speeches. Growing up, I saw a lot of those old black and white documentaries. You know, you see Hitler banging his hand and saying "Achtung!" I was quite amazed by it. And the most amazing part was always seeing the rapturous, thunderous applause that followed, you know, when everybody's cheering and applauding. And it dawned on me how amazing it is that words can have that sway and that effect on people to rouse their hearts and to move them to do things. With just using words, you can enthrall people and get them to love or hate. My memory is that it brought me to the UK. I was in Terengganu at the time as a practical teacher, and I was looking for an excuse to go home. You know, when you are lying down in bed, you're going through the 20 different WhatsApp groups you have with your university, your group, your club, your whatever, and you're scrolling through, and there's 100 different advertisements around. I'm just scrolling. Oh, public speaking. Oh, where is this? KL. Hey, can go home. Hello, Ma. I have to go home. I am in a competition. I'm applying. Turns out, hey, win. Congratulations, son. We're shipping you out to England in 3 months. Get ready. Huh? Ooh. So that's something. I prefer it much more to debate because debate is very intense. Debate, number one, is arguing. You have to win. You are in it to win it. You want to prove yourself correct. And it's a team effort. You have to talk to the other guy. Hey, what are you going to say? And you're trying to argue with another guy, your opponent. In public speaking, you have what you want to say. You go on stage, you say the thing, and then you sit down. Nobody's going to ask you questions. Nobody's going to say anything. It's the one speaking activity where you can sit down next to your rival. Hey, what are you going to say? Oh, I'm going to be talking about this. Oh, that's great. Okay. You're not arguing. You're not adding points. You have your own points already. If it's similar, you acknowledge it. So that's my font. That's why I like it. It's a bit more relaxed. And my fondest memory is that it got me overseas. Good experience then.
I see. What an inspiration you are for all of us. All right. The next question is, what would be your advice to someone who is new to public speaking?
I've been saying how we have a rule 1. Yes, there's actually a rule 0. Before you even start. In the classes that I teach for public speaking, to get started, before anything at all, rule 0 is whatever you do not what's good morning. Today I want to talk about hey, those big sin. Don't do it. If you ever find yourself, if you catch yourself say keep quiet. Just stay quiet. It's better to remain silent. We call these fillers. Why do we call them fillers? Because you fill up the dead air in between the spaces. Why do they happen? They happen because either A, your brain is thinking too fast and your mouth can't catch up, and then you or you've been talking too fast and your brain can't think fast enough, and then you run out of things to say, and then you're not sure. There's a lag. There's a lag between your head and your mouth, and then you, in a desperate attempt to fill up the dead air, these are fillers. These fillers can take the form of They can also take the form of words, such as like. The other day, like I went to this place, and you know, there are people who use likes a lot, and phrases such as, you know. There's this place, you know, and I went over there, you know, and these are fillers. They do not contribute to the message. If you find yourself doing these, the phrases are still okay. It's the is bad. If you find yourself doing that, stop, keep quiet, and then continue as best you can. What we are trying to do here, level 1, you keep quiet. Level 2, you slowly start to reduce the gaps in between. So you're thinking, right? You keep quiet, you think about what you want to say. At first, it will feel and it will be very obvious. It will be very awkward. Because today I'm going to be talking about public speaking. It will seem very obvious. The goal is to reduce those gaps in thinking. Smaller and smaller and smaller until you reach a point where you do think and you do have gaps, but those gaps are so tiny nobody notices them except you. And once you reach level 9,000, the best level is even when you pause, even when you mess up, you make it look as if it was planned. We call this the dramatic pause. Like acting. In fact, when in actuality, what's really happening is, today I'm going to be talking about something very, very important. Inside your head, Nanti apa benda nak cakap. Public speaking, but don't show your face. Just like performing. If you mess up, nobody knows you messed up unless you show you've messed up. So don't show it. Confident face all the way. So you keep quiet until the point where you can control it. And even when you mess up, you make it look like it's part of the show. Public speaking. Yeah. So that's one. This one, rule 0. You couple this with rule 1. How you say the thing should fit the meaning of the thing. I try to make it catchy and more Malaysian. I teach children. It's easy to remember that when you teach kids. How you say the thing must fit the meaning of the thing. If sad, say it sad way. Okay? This is a horrible thing. It helps you in being more expressive. Monotony is another sin we must avoid. Monotony or being monotonous when you speak in one dull, flat line. Such as Professor Snake. It's a good example. Those ones, some people, if you, let's say, some khutbah can be very loud. The moment they start talking, Yahudi laknatullah Israel, you notice they go up, and once they go up, they stay up. They never go down. It's just up all the way. Or you're very tired. Hey guys, I want to talk at this level. It doesn't matter. Point is, they stay. And those, doesn't matter high or low, they're still monotonous. So we overcome that slowly by applying rule number 1. How you say a thing, fit the meaning of the thing. And you work on it also by avoiding the R. You do this, you practice this in your daily life. Some cases, the most common. Dek, bang, malam ni nak makan apa? Or if somebody calls you. Hello, ni siapa? The is there. It is strong and it is with us. So next time your ma asks you what you want to eat, don't what is forgivable, you can drag your word. How about chicken? That is still much more preferable than if you just say ayam macam ni. Okay? Avoid that. All right, I think I see the last question there. Is that last? I always feel anxious when I was asked to speak, right? Right? When I was asked to speak so suddenly or limited preparation time, are there any tips to overcome that? Anxiety. Yeah, anxiety happens. People get butterflies in their stomach. You show up and you go in front of a crowd. You're asked to speak on something you don't know much about. What are you gonna do? There are a couple of ways to do that. What I can recommend, number 1, you don't make it about yourself. Why we feel so anxious when we are asked to speak, when we speak in front of a crowd, is because when you are on stage, you feel everybody's attention is on you. All eyes and ears are on everything you do and say, and you feel you are being scrutinized by everybody. Everybody's judging me, and the way I look, and the way I sound. I can't mess up. That's what builds up the anxiety. How do we overcome that? I would recommend you don't make that speech about you. It's not about you. Don't be so selfish. You think of what you're doing. You are merely a messenger. You are there to convey something. You look back into the contents of your speech. There is something I want to share. I'm sharing something. I am conveying something that may be helpful, that may be useful, that may be something that people didn't know before this. I'm spreading something that's good. So it's not me. I am just conveying. I am a messenger. The example would be, let's say when we were younger, I'm sure everybody has said this. The teacher asks you, hey, Matt, can you go next door? Tell the next door class that I've already given out the homework. Please submit tomorrow. Announce it to the next door class. When you go to the next door class and you tell, you are very rarely anxious. Why? Because you're not speaking as you. You are only, hey guys, teacher say tomorrow pass up homework. You never nervous. Why are you never nervous? Because you are only a messenger. You are speaking, you are passing something along. So you use that, whatever your speech has, you convey. That is what I normally tell everybody. If that still doesn't work, this is what I do. What I do personally, if when number one doesn't work, my own thing is I like to act. I enjoy a bit of theater. I'm a bit of a dramatic person myself. When you go on stage, you put on a persona, you put on a mask. It's not me. It's not me that's on the stage. I'm putting on a show. You convince yourself, you psych yourself out. I'm putting on a show. I'm performing. When I give out this speech, when I give out this big Merdeka speech about National Day and the importance of national pride and independence, I'm not speaking as me. You're putting this imaginary character. And then once you have that, you're able to put on a voice or you put on a face. Ah, yes, this is part of the show. So whatever people react to, because in those cases, we are afraid people would react negatively, yes? So when you put that on, even if they react negatively, they're not reacting negatively to you. They are reacting negatively to the show, to the character you put. Since it's not you that's out there. It's a character you made. So that's two ways I can advise you. I like to teach the conveying more, but sometimes it might not work. So acting helps. So this one you get from where? If you participate in plays or you join any theater or you join for the purposes of acting, you apply the same principle. It's not me, it's all part of the show. All right.
Right, so there are actually a few more questions. So someone here said, I have trouble to look at my face or listen to myself whenever I speak, especially whenever I need to switch on the camera. Are there any tips to overcome this? Because maybe sometimes these days we are having the online learning sessions where you have to switch on your camera whenever the teacher asks something, whenever the lecturer wants to ask you. So how do you overcome this fear, looking at yourself and listening to yourself?
Fear of looking or listening to yourself. I've heard people who don't like the sound of their own voice when you hear it on record. That's common. Fearing looking or listening to yourself. I start with the one that's more familiar one, yeah. The how you train, that's actually one measure of how you train your voice. You know how if you record your voice on your phone and then you listen back to it, normally you don't like it. I sound like that. Oh my goodness, I sound horrible. Why do I sound like that? What I would like to advise to all of you is that remember all those exercises, the reading exercise. You try to read, you play with your voice up and down, you work on your pronunciation, you repair your makhraj, you give each letter its proper place. You work on that and you keep recording yourself. And when the day comes that you listen to your own recording and you say, oh, I sound not bad. That's how you know you're getting there. The moment you start to like the sound of your own voice, and then that's good. Because what you hear and you don't like, that's what other people are hearing too. So we use that as a measure. And that will tie in. Those reasons will tie in into why you don't like or you have trouble seeing your own face on camera and listening to your own voice speak. Worse if there's echo. Sometimes with the audio, right? You hear speak. When you don't like how you look, which well, personal appearance, what I can help you out with there, public speaking, unlike debating, we have appearances and first impressions are also a focus. It's nobody's fault. Humans are like that. The moment you start to open your mouth, from the moment a speaker starts to open his or her mouth, you only have about 30 seconds to make a good first impression. Otherwise, people will start to that's gone. So first impressions do matter for us public speakers. So besides your personal experience, besides your personal appearance, what you can do is to help yourself. Posture is one. All the body language stuff we've covered. How you control your face. Do you contort it well? Do you control it well? Do you find yourself fidgeting a lot? You have to relax. You maintain proper posture. There is a difference I'd like to point out. Let's say if you speak while smiling. Have you tried that? That's a good experiment. Hi, everybody. My name is Shah, and I'd like to welcome all of you to this talk we have going on today about public speaking. Smiling all the way. When your voice comes out, and it will sound differently when you're smiling rather than if you were to maintain the entire time. I advise it. Try it out. So from there, your facial expressions do matter. And part of the anxiety thing, this one counts in two. Try your best to feel excited about what it is you're talking about. Yeah, it might be an academic subject. It could possibly be very well the most boring thing you've ever encountered. But if you have choice in it, try to make it something you like to talk about. Or at least if it's still a very hard subject to talk about for you, an academic subject, we try to find little bits where you can relate to, or you try to apply it into situations where you find it's applicable to other people also. Try to get excited about it. Why I say excited? Because when you are excited about something, your voice and your body will reflect it. When you get excited about something, how do you talk? You're animated, you're alive. Hey, there's this thing I want to tell you. I'm sharing with you the latest news. Hey, the exam is out already. Big questions. Oh, really? How many? Oh, on what? Subtopics. Oh, this subtopic is easy. It's talking about this and this and this. Okay. So with the posture, remember your back, your diaphragm is here. These are the stuff they teach. The diaphragm is here. If you slouch a little too much, and your face structure doesn't, not your face structure, your expressions, it does not help your voice at all. When you have good posture, that posture will help you naturally, if not a lot, at least a bit, in helping your voice to spread out a little better. And with your eyes and your mouth, you open it up a little more, just like. But English enunciation, you try to exaggerate. In your practice sessions, you try looking at the words. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. You hyper exaggerate pronouncing each word when you practice. Why? So that after a while, you get used to it. And once you get used to it, even when you talk conversationally, you'll find you pronounce things very well. That's one of the things we do when we work on our voice. As for appearance, posture, facial expressions, hand gestures, appear confident, feel confident. Look good, feel good. You feel good, you look good.
I see. All right. Someone also asked, how do we prevent ourselves from stuttering too much when I give a speech? Other than considering our speed when we talk, how do we, prevent from stuttering even though we speak in a slow pace?
That one also harks back a fair bit to it. Anxiety. On the surface, first step is you stop. The moment you feel it, I have friends who have problems like this. It's okay, it happens. You stop. It's okay, don't force yourself. You take a moment. First few periods will be very hard and very obvious and very awkward. But these things, they don't come snap first go, They come after some practices. So how do we do that? Well, you have to try it out in front of the mirror every now and then. You look at yourself, or you try recording yourself. You're looking at your slides. You're preparing for tomorrow. You don't have to make it so formal. You just try. Okay. First slide. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. today I'm going to talk about public speaking. Okay. Point number one. Then you record yourself. Then you can look at you can engage the time from there. Then for the anxiety part, those things on what was it? You focus on yourself. You're just conveying a message and have fun acting.
I see. All right. So, Brother Shahizam, someone is interested here. Do you make personal tutoring?
Personal tutoring. Ooh. So far, I have not been doing so, but I am open to the idea. There was somebody who approached me, but he was busy. I was busy. Some company fellow, and ended up not going anywhere at all. But as long as we're able to work out a schedule, I think yeah, no problem.
I see. Okay. So, it's a green light. You can always contact him whenever you want. All right. So, the next question is, how do you become fluent in English, Brother Shahnizam?
Ooh, fluent. Fluency, people normally are exposed to the material a lot. But still, that wouldn't explain why, brother, I watch YouTube every day. Same, leave English. Yeah. You'd have to, there's no roundabout way, there's no way around it. You have to try to speak it a lot. But I can tell you what I did when I was younger. I did mention I really liked watching old documentaries. The ones where they have those old political leaders banging on the table, shouting, speaking. What I used to do was I liked to watch speeches like, say, the old American presidents, Roosevelt or Winston Churchill or these fellas, these kind of guys. And I remember now, I realized what I did was every time they spoke, I tried to mimic them. And we will go on the beaches, our country. I would act. I'd stand in front of the mirror, our country. Then you start to notice sometimes they say certain things funny. That's when you start to realize, oh, they have accents, oh, they have different qira'at. Oh, if you are aware or not, if you notice people like Kennedy, President Kennedy, American president, they hyper pronounce certain vowels. What shape is this? This is a not square. This is a square. I breathe air. Where? Over there. Then you start to notice. Then you try to mimic the pronunciation at first. At first, you are blatantly just copying the guy. And after a while, you get comfortable enough with it. You notice the pattern. You know how to do it. You pick the qira'at you feel comfortable in, which is the reason why I could never talk like American YouTubers. Like, over there at the park, I can't do it. But some of you can, definitely. That's the one you're more comfortable in. So you get used to it, you work on it, you listen to people talking it. Yeah, like over there. You feel comfortable, and after a while, it'll be second skin to you.
Okay. So, another person here asked, do you have any podcast or YouTube channel of your own? Rather, feels like you should have one.
That's a big compliment, sir or madam. Thank you very much. I do not at present. You think I should? No,
Oh, definitely. Okay, so Brother Shahnizam, how do I become brave enough to challenge myself to join public speaking in English? Perhaps they could be first timers.
I understand public speaking can be very daunting because you are solo. Why? This is me. What I can recommend, you try other stuff that are sort of related, such as MUN is one. MUN is Model United Nations. That one, you take you role play, you become representatives of countries in the UN. Yeah, there's a little bit of research involved and there's some writing involved also, but there's a lot of public speaking in it. And there is no pressure on you to speak if you don't want to speak. You speak when you want to. That helps in easing yourself up. Alternatively, you can debate. Debate is a team sport, and in the more beginner leagues, there's not as much pressure. You can go, a friend, you can, the burden feels a bit more shared. But other than that, if you wish to go for public speaking straight away, immediately, no problem. All you need to do is just try your best to, you know what, I'd like to try, and other people. I'm in it. When you go for competition, whenever you compete, winning should never really be the goal. If you join stuff, I'm joining this. Why? We're all IIUM students here. What's your niyat here? What's your intention? To win the trophy, win the money. Only. You're very hard. That you're in it because you like it. One, possibly. You're in it because you are interested to get better at it. You are in it because you feel you are sort of good at it and you would like to try. Either you like it or you want to get better in it, or there's some other thing. Win, bonus. If get top 3, also bonus. But you were there, I did it. You go home, win. That's okay. But I know what went wrong. All right, sure, I've joined. Yeah, that's still pretty good. Don't beat yourself up too hard for it. Remember, before you get good, you gotta be bad first. You didn't start good. Kena tengok dulu.
Agree. All right, Brother Nizam, would you say that giving a speech virtually in front of the camera is more difficult than physically giving a speech? Which one is more difficult?
More difficult. Personally, with everybody here, I would say it's less nerve-wracking to speak virtually. It's less nervous for me. But I will say that both have their own awful difficulties. If it's in front of people, live audience and crowd, you already know because everybody's looking at you physically. You can see their reactions as they get repulsed at you with disgust at what you said. Either they're booing, disagreeing, or nodding, which at the same time can be an added strength because then you know, okay, they are reacting this way. One big difficulty, the biggest difficulty I would say in speaking virtually is that you're talking to a wall, really. You're talking to a wall of black hidden panels. Where got people turn on camera? If you with your lecturer turn on camera, don't be so bad. Leave them alone like that. But the challenge remains, you're talking to an empty screen filled with just panels with names, and looking at the audience in this case equals to you looking directly at the camera, actually. It's a teeny tiny little circle at the top of your monitor. It's hard to do that, to maintain and just to look 10 minutes like that. So that is its own difficulty. Although the plus side, you do it sitting down, you're doing it in your room, you got your pajama pants on, even though up top you're professional.
Yes, very true. All right, Brother Nizam, do you have any favorite speakers or your idol in public speaking? Someone even asked Jordan Peterson or Ben Shapiro.
I have heard both of them. Yeah, they're good. They're good speakers, Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro. They talk about a lot of controversial subject matter. It's interesting stuff. Their perspectives are interesting, but my personal favorites really are. I like to listen to very old speakers. You think Churchill, Kennedy, Roosevelt, these people I've mentioned. I like to listen to the black and white era ones because I notice their English sounds quite different to the current ones today. But it's normal, because even if you consider it, Malay sounded very different 50 years ago. Yeah. Kenapa saudara bilang begitu? Jantan tak guna, seperti engkau. It sounds very different from our current Malay too. But I find that, oh yeah, as a tip too, when you will listen to many public speakers, past, present, doesn't matter where. And when you're trying to look for your own voice in English or in another language, especially if you're trying to learn English, so you're listening to English speakers, you listen in trying to determine a model for you to model off. You find one that you like best, either that it's clear, or you find that it's the biggest criteria for me is clarity. It's clear and it's easy to say. Although arguably, even though you could say that the American one is clearer and easier to make out between the words, because sometimes if it's just standard British English, it can sometimes be quite hard to understand and make out where the words start and end. But that stress in their T's and P's and all the hard sounding letters I find clear for me. So I base it off of that. That is the qira'at I have chosen to follow. So you choose one, and then you make sure you try to work on the makhraj and the pronunciations there, and then you work on your volume, your expressiveness, and so on and so forth. Although fun to compare, yeah.
Okay, I think this will be the last question for tonight, Brother Shah Nizam. In general, do you personally think that public speaking is an easy thing to adapt to?
Easy thing to adapt to. Easy only, don't say hard. If say hard, it will be hard. It's just talking. Yes, we acknowledge, we are aware that being able to speak and being able to speak well is and can be a gift from God. Not everybody has this gift. So for those of us who do have this gift, it is as much rizki as it is a dugaan for us to be able to speak up for those who can't. Right? Having said that though, don't make it out to be so hard. It's just a matter of speaking and communicating, and it is simply the art of being able to communicate something well and being able to present something good. This everybody can pick up. Although not everybody will be level 9,000, but everybody can be somewhat good at it. It's just a matter of communicating. So it's just a matter of learning, okay, if you're level 0, right? If we're all noobs here, let's say noob, you fall back on a few key phrases. What do I say if I'm not sure? What if somebody asks me a question that I don't know answer? Lecturer asks, so based on your presentation, what is it? You come up with a few key phrases. That's an excellent question, doctor. Thank you very much. Our research has not yet covered that, but we will find out and get back to you. A very cop-out answer. But if you have it memorized, you start there. You start memorizing first. At first, it's but you get better and better at it. Oh, that's an excellent. Well, acknowledging this other person, and you build off of that. Yeah, starts at key phrases. It starts at memorizing key lines and memorizing the methods. Step 2, you start to get good at it, and you're able to improvise. You're able to put your own little twists on it. Step 3, you get really good. You don't need to memorize them anymore. You can make them up on the fly. And you're able to respond when people say or do something. Acknowledge, rebut, or use it as part of the speech yourself. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Brother Shah Nizam, for such a wonderful sharing. I believe that the knowledge that our brother has shared with us tonight would benefit many of us to become better speakers in the future. As Winston Churchill once said, courage is what it takes to stand up and speak and to sit down and listen. Hence, if any of you are interested or if you would like to begin your journey in public speaking starting today. We, the Orators Club, will be there for you to gain the courage to speak up. Thus, we would be more than delighted if you would join our upcoming activities that will be conducted by the Orators just for you, inshallah. So not to forget, I would like to give a big thank you once again to our amazing speaker, Brother Shah Nizam, for giving us all the tips and tricks in order for us to improve ourselves in public speaking. Thank you all for making your time in your busy schedules to join us here tonight. As we have reached the end of our session, on the behalf of the committee of the Orators Club, I would like to apologize for any inconveniences caused along the program for tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now the time for our photography session. Therefore, I would like to ask everyone to kindly switch on your cameras for us to capture this momentous event. All right, please switch on your cameras. Is everyone ready? Okay, so I will take the
Just a
picture.
second.
Oh, all right. It's okay, we can wait.
Okay.
All right. So is everyone ready? I will take the picture in 5 more seconds. Okay. So I will take the picture now. So everyone smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I guess that is all for tonight. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much, Brother Shahnizam. So before we close this session, let us recite Tasbih Kifara and Surah An-Nas. Okay, so remember, let the world hear the words you need to say. Voice out and speak up because the world is waiting for you. That is all from us. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.